guys. This is our officially last guest episode of season 2 of the Within Range podcast.
Oh,
So
You're
we made
closing us out.
Closing us out.
Going out with a bang.
honored.
Man.
Honored.
So as you know, it's your boys Dom Juan, Jared Suter, Snoop Beastwood, and the Ear God. Guys, big first for the podcast today. We definitely have not done an episode like this since we've done this podcast.
All our episodes are special. We like to branch out, so we're always trying to do something new, but this is very clearly a wildly different lane. Turns out, we were talking though, he does have some musical talent though, so it's not a complete 180 from what we've been doing. So I'm excited, to say the least.
Absolutely. So, boys, interesting story of how we came in contact with this man. I feel like in contact may be a term we use throughout this episode. But
this is our first contact with him as well, too. So.
That's true. That's true. But guys, we're talking director, historian, photographer, filmmaker, writer. I mean, I could go on with the names and the titles, but you can catch his documentaries on Tubi, Amazon Prime, Roku. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk extraterrestrials, aerial phenomena, UFOs, UAPs with the man Clive Byfield.
Man, I appreciate it. What an intro, man.
Thank you for joining us, man.
What an intro. Yeah, cheers to that. That was solid, man. Historian, photographer, all that. I appreciate that.
Not to give too much away, but if you're watching this, you probably want to drink as well. Almost certainly. You're going to need some. That or a Xanax.
Yeah, so I think it's only right, Jared, Drew, that we start with how we came in contact with Clyde and how Clyde ended up here. But it goes back to a year ago, roughly when we started, and we had Deli Every Day on. Shout out to Deli Every Day.
Deli.
Shout out to Deli Every Day, man.
My man.
And, we were going crazy with the content, and somebody commented on one of the posts and said, if you ever want to talk aliens, let me know. Mm-hmm. My first intuition went to, is someone trying to clown us? Is some like we're new to this game? Like, man, someone is trying to tease us. Little did I know, after going on the man's page and doing research, this guy really wants to talk aliens.
As certified as they come, dude. 100% legit. And then some, with the extra credit.
Absolutely.
Such a rarity, too. Man, so that's how Clive ended up here. But Clive, we want to start a little bit with your early history and then get into the meat and potatoes as we talked about. But from what I understand, you originally were from or kind of grew up a little bit in South Philly and then moved to Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, born in South Philly, moved out here 85, and total culture shock. From South Philadelphia to the desert. Immediately was my grandmother. My father wasn't around, but my grandmother linked me up with Jim Hatt, Tom Collenborn, some of the real trailblazers of Arizona, and from there it playing in the dirt, having fun, just enjoying this environment, and then just kind of took off from there.
I feel like for people that aren't in Phoenix, it's a big city, but it's relatively new in the grand scheme of things. So It's not only it would be a culture shock moving from, I would assume, Philadelphia to here today. But in 1985, I know for a fact, I wasn't even here. I know from other people, it looked very different. So I could
completely.
There probably wasn't a Fairmont Princess. Maybe there was a Fairmont Princess Scottsdale, but there was, you know what I mean? There wasn't as much in Old Town at the time. And was there a 101?
No, there wasn't a 101. There wasn't
okay.
a 51. It was just the 10 and the 17. I remember riding my bike up to certain parts of Bell Road, and it was dirt road and stuff like that. Yeah, so none of that area was even developed. But I mean, you talk about the freedom that we had in the 80s. As kids with bicycles, like that to me is the true symbol of American freedom, was the bicycle, because we got up, we watched our cartoons, and we went outside with our friends, and we got on our bikes, and we didn't have to be home until the the street lights came on.
Yeah,
so
that was the timer. Yep, same here.
You had a 15-mile, 20-mile bike ride with your friends, exploring, and
into the desert too.
The desert,
Sonoran Desert.
Beautiful.
It was the place to be. Less buildings, less people, but the same amount of space. And I do miss it. I miss those times, man. It was a lot of fun.
I could see that. That's awesome.
Were you a basketball fan even then too?
Basketball, yes. Boxing. So coming from South Philly, you know,
A lot of good boxers out of Philly.
my mom was real big into boxing, and then you know it was Eagles, but my mom and my dad wasn't around like here, and there's like reasons for that. You know, I'll kind of touch into that. So my father was he was in the Black Mafia in South Philly, so a lot of that, you know, transitioning here. You know, he had to be there, and then, you know, just it wasn't the kind of lifestyle that my mother wanted me around. So, but you know, he would send me the recorded VCR tapes of the Eagles games, and you know things. Yeah. So I would get I would get the Eagles game. So he'd watch it, record it, and then mail it, and I'd watch it the following week.
Oh, that's
you
so
know
cool.
what I mean? So I grew up Eagles fans, but yeah, it was boxing. Boxing first, you know, basketball, football, then basketball. Even baseball was even bigger at that time.
Yeah.
And different times, man. The NFL was nothing compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
I'm curious. I don't know too much about, you know, Arizona boxing specifically. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a boxing aficionado in general, but I would say we have a rich history of UFC out here. Was boxing as big, or did you have to look for it to get into it?
God, there was.
If you were getting Eagles games mailed to you, I know you were doing the work to find out what was going on.
Yeah, you were earning
There was one boxer, and I want to say his name was like Chavez or something like that, a Hispanic boxer. He was real big, but like, you know, that's all we really do, because Phoenix at that time, it was at least 6 months behind on everything, music, fashion, everything. So when we heard, you know, what was the latest news to us, we were really already behind. I mean, I remember a time we didn't even get concerts out here.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't get concert venues. We didn't have. I went to so before the Diamondbacks, I was kind of tripping out about this because they were in the World Series. But I went to the Phoenix Firebird games back before.
I don't even know about the Firebirds.
Yeah,
What?
so the Phoenix Firebirds, you know, was a minor league. They were a minor league team, and you know, those games were jam packed. It was Bank One ballpark.
It was Bank
then.
One.
It was
Okay.
Bank One
Wow.
ballpark then, and you know, I saw the construction of that, you know, as a teenager, and actually that in '97 in specific, you know, I worked at Sky Harbor Airport, and coming home from work, and you know, the 16th Street in Buckeye, and you could see, you know, just to the left, the construction and the lights peering through the shell of the stadium. But that was
Arizona
when,
sunset with that.
yeah, that's when that night specific. That's well, one of those nights was when the Phoenix Lights kind of like flew over downtown and flew over that. So like when I saw that happen, that incident take place, it, you know, that shell of Bank One ballpark is always embedded into the brain, man.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're 5-10 minutes in. You already can't look at Chase Field the same way.
Yeah. No, you definitely can. I mean, that was it. Like I said, it was just a different time, and for something like that to happen here, especially that night, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Wildcats started their championship run that night. It was either the night before or that same night, but it was just a different time. You know what I'm saying? Phoenix was just, you know, those guys, Mike Bibby, Richard Jefferson, they all would hang out at Metro Center Mall.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just just different. You know, the Suns players, you could walk into Abco Foods and bump into Cedric Sabalos. He was real cool. Oliver Miller, I still see Oliver Miller up at the Christown Walmart all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So yeah, man, just different times. The athletes, you know, they talk to the people, and you know, it was just like I said, just respectful. Lots of respect, man.
Yeah.
You know,
More
and
personal
it's changed.
too.
Yeah, it's changed so much.
There's something about you that I can respect. It seems like a lot of your surroundings ingrain as part of your personality. So the things that you become surrounded by, that you can vividly picture things that happened many years ago that most people think loose details or stuff that they would easily forget. Seems like you can remember vividly every picture of what's around you. I'm very similar in the same way that I grew up.
Yeah, that photographic memory.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
That's something. That's a talent, man. You know, you can't. I can't knock that. You know, because especially when it comes to like you know, being a history major, and then, you know, making sure, because I got into wanting to be a professor in history, so that way, especially an archaeologist, but giving people back their history is something that is extremely important to me, and remembering what it was like, here at the time, especially with some of the people that I learned from, the Tom Collenborns, the Jim Hatts, those guys. They were big into the Lost Dutchman and some of the really lost treasures of the American Southwest, and they were huge inspiration to me coming up, and that's what they instilled in me. Especially my grandmother was. That's a whole nother conversation, but she was very connected. Linked to 2 presidents. I grew up with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I grew up.
Drew, drop a bomb on that one. Good.
I'm gonna drink to that one
Should
too.
we inquire about how linked or no?
I mean, like I said, that's something we could talk about
Okay, all right, I like
another time. But yeah, she would. I grew up. I thought as a teenager and a young child, I thought everybody got visits from governors, mayors, things like that. So
No,
when I got older,
they do.
Yeah, when I got
31 years, it ain't happened yet.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, all right. So it wasn't, they didn't just stop by because my grandmother placed a phone call. No, she was somebody important, to say the least. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, you bring up, I remember in the E.T. or Man-Made doc I watched, you had talked about how originally your goal was to be a history professor and then an archaeologist, but it was a trip that you took that took you into this.
Yeah. Ephesus. Yeah. So Ephesus, Ephesus. So in 2011, I was in school and I had let my professor know that I'm going to be taking this. It was like a 3-week, almost a month, to the Mediterranean. Sailed the Mediterranean. We were in Rome and Greece and Crete, and he got me access to certain parts. One of them being the Vatican. I was able to go underneath. I took some pictures down there. I wasn't supposed to. I'll show you guys after the show.
And that's a very secure place too to do.
Yeah. So it's like it's amazing how much that's on top and what's underneath isn't crushed. How does that still baffles me? Like the stone is that strong that you can stack a whole city of buildings
and it doesn't just
Right. It was a very uncomfortable feeling, but to walk through some of those tunnels and see how they display art and stuff like that. But when I went to Turkey, Ephesus or Ephesus, that's the book of Ephesians in the Bible, and that's their city. But I was looking for, because in specific, that city is in Revelations. It's one of the churches in the book of Revelations. And when it comes to the 7 things that the victorious angel would get, one of them, the only one that we could see, is the name on white stone. So when you watch that documentary and there's the scene where you see my Reebok ZigTech, the shoe, and there's that white stone, that's what brought me back to Phoenix. That's interesting stuff that like I don't directly say, but that is something that I want people to catch on and ask the question. So that's a really great question. But and I answer that question in chapter 6, which will be coming out December 5th, I believe, or something like that.
Soon.
Oh yeah, it's right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Around the corner. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm glad we got into it. I guess we could start here because let me just say, I only had the opportunity and the time to watch one of your docs as of right now. Plan on watching more, but I got to the E.T. or Man-Made one, and let me say, like, in terms of quality of a documentary, because I am a documentary guy, and then in terms of subject interest and keeping the watcher engaged, it hit all of those boxes. I mean, I from a, and I'll say this, I'll preface by saying this. Sometimes when you see those Amazon documentaries, you're like, you may assume that the quality might not be good. It might be, no, not at all. Wow. I mean, the quality of the documentary itself was great, but then your subject matter, and I liked how you went deep enough, but then you also knew when to transition.
Mm.
And so I just want to talk about it from I guess
That's
a visual standpoint. That's what I got from watching that
That's
one.
it, because once again I appreciate that, because I didn't go to film school. I didn't everything.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah.
Everything. You want to know what's even funnier is that one was the 47 minutes of that was done on an iPhone. So to hear that
The ET or man-made one?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, I would have never guessed that.
Everything up to the BMX track.
Mm-hmm.
iPhone.
Oh, I want to talk about the
Yeah.
BMX track, but I'm gonna let my guys
I did too.
say some first.
Actually, I did
Because
too.
that BMX track is in my backyard.
Really?
I just moved. I just moved into
yeah.
a new house, and that mountain is literally right behind my house.
Dude, the history of Arizona. Man, we don't have enough time for it, but the sacred Black Hills, Black Mountain.
I just hiked Black Mountain last
Dude, it's
week.
crazy because the people that own that track, they came in and named it Black Mountain with no idea of the history that it's always been called Black Mountain, and it is the sacred Black Mountains since the Hopi. And they just came in and was like, "Oh, we're gonna name it Black Mountain because the mountain's black."
Wow.
It's funny how that works out.
Yeah, you actually mentioned that in UFOs over Vegas. I actually watched that today.
Oh, so you watched that? So that's chapter 5.
Yeah,
yes,
I watched that today.
yes. So I start to get into the land. The big picture is it's the mountain range. So if you look at Vegas, you look at Washington, you look at Phoenix, you look at Mexico, you look at Chile, all Peru. It's
Big
the mountain
ranges.
range.
Huge.
It's the Pacific Rim of Fire and the plate tectonic activity, and those mountain ranges alone probably take up about 90% of the UFOs that are happening in present day and in the past.
Wow. Okay, so you think it's a Pacific Rim thing? Is that it? I guess Pacific Rim is the volcanic stuff and all the plates moving, so that makes the mountains. Are you saying the Pacific Rim is to be responsible because it made the mountains in here, or are the mountains what attract them?
I think
there's strategic advantages to it.
So let's look at Skinwalker Ranch, for example. Have you guys seen that show?
In Utah,
I've seen it on
right?
Netflix.
Yes.
I'm roughly familiar. I'm not well versed.
What they're doing is prolonging that show, because in reality, mountains release energy, right? The Dreamy Draw does it. Mountains in general just release energy. And I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe that energy from the plate activity diving under and it's being released through the mountain ranges and the holes and things like that. So, you look at Arizona in specific, we have Arizona's broken down into 3 different ranges. You have the Basin Range, which we are. Then you have Flagstaff, which is the transitional zone. And then you have the Colorado Plateau, where the Grand Canyon is.
Right.
And each one of those bring you 6 to 7 different elements that you normally wouldn't find in just one state.
Right.
But you got to look at the mountains. Like, for example, we live in a giant super volcano. If you look at the surrounding mountains, it's a mouth. It's an entire valley surrounded by mountains. And that's
The Colorado, the Rockies, and the Appalachian Mountains, basically?
No, just here in Phoenix.
Here in Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix. So
okay.
If you look 360 degrees, you're surrounded by mountains.
You're surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
Just a couple of years ago, there was the fires. And I mean, the entire rain, it was
I remember
all on
that was
fire.
bad fire
It was
season.
nuts.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
where
Okay.
it was a super volcano. It erupted in
like the rim. Okay.
18 in the Superstition Mountains. It was like 1887, 1897 or something like that, but it did erupt.
So we have fairly recent volcanic in the grand
Absolutely.
term of the Earth. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I did not know. I mean,
Me
obviously,
The San Francisco Peaks is just a dormant volcano, so it can go active anytime.
that's a bad day to be a snowball, dude.
So I actually had a question for you then. So in the documentary UFOs over Vegas, the very first thing you mentioned in the documentary is about Mercury. How does Mercury play into the conversation we were talking about? Because it seems to me that there's because you talked about elements, each one of the stages of the divisions in the Arizona area. You said there's different elements in there that play a part into the area. How does Mercury fit into that?
So if you look at and you actually saw some of the text in the beginning. So
Right.
a lot of the pyramid structures, Egyptian, Mesoamerica, they used mercury.
Bass Pro Shops in Memphis too. No, I'm just kidding.
That pyramid over there, dude.
6th largest pyramid in the world is a Bass Pro Shops in Memphis. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's crazy, dude.
That was a good one, Jared. That was a good one.
That was a smooth one. But they are attracted, and I heard this, so it's funny because Travis Walton still deny he
Shout
said
out
this.
Travis Walton.
Yeah,
man.
shout out my man Travis.
I'd love
Walton.
to meet
You
that
know,
guy.
he's a cool dude. Actually, when the UFO disclosure came out, he was the first person that I actually reached out to, and just like, man, you've been telling the truth the entire time, and now you really, and he said it. I got the last laugh, but I heard from Travis Walton that they're attracted to mercury, and like I said, he won't admit that he said that, but he told me that. And then
Off camera.
off camera. But so the Dreamy Draw.
By the way, he lives. How far from Dreamy Draw?
Oh, I mean, it'd be 6 minutes, probably 6-7 minutes down the
So
get on
you-
the 51.
That's one of my
and a few
favorite
exits
hiking
down.
ranges too.
Yeah,
personally.
yeah.
I love that. I love
So
that.
you notice it's been closed down for like the last 3 years.
Yeah,
They just
they've been
reopened
working
it.
on
They
it.
just
reopened
reopened
it.
it. Yeah.
So I got the video from Origins, where you see the helicopter circling
Yes.
the Dreamy
Yep.
Draw.
Yep.
That happened. My buddy Stu sent me that, but that happened right as the pandemic kicked off, and they just reopened the Dreamy Draw. But the Dreamy Draw,
Phoenix
there's-
Lights were right
they just
above Dreamy
they
Draw.
flew over. The Phoenix Lights did fly over Dreamy Draw. You have
Which, real quick, if for those of you who don't know what the Phoenix Lights are, it's arguably the biggest UFO UAP sighting in history.
at
right?
least
It's-
10,000 people reported seeing the
Okay.
Phoenix Lights, and let's start off by saying it was the 8 o'clock event and not the 10 o'clock event. The
Okay.
Phoenix Lights happened up until the following morning. There was
Oh,
probably
really?
10 to 12 craft, probably more, but yeah.
Oh, that I didn't
There's
know.
that.
There's a that's so if you just watch it on the news, they want you to think from 8:30 to 10, and it was over the Berry Goldwater
Yeah, it was just a
Range.
couple hours at night, right?
Nah, this thing happened. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff. So I just recently obtained the phone call from Prescott Airport to Luke Air Force Base, and highly controversial
That's got to be
call.
good.
But they're talking about a near collision with a small Cessna plane, and then the Luke Air Force Base scrambled 2 fighter jets out of it. And they said when this dude came back, and this dude was tough. I mean, like somebody you just don't mess with. And when he came back, he was so scared that he needed help out of the cockpit.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So
Oh, I got
I
chills.
got goosebumps, dude. I
chills.
just got
chills.
goosebumps right now.
I'm picturing Will Smith
he
in
was
Independence
a
Day right
badass.
now.
Like he will not. He has not talked about it, and he will not talk about it. I'm gonna try, but because I have that recording, and I know that there were military planes. They also have FLIR footage. So because we are tax-paying citizens, we can request that footage via the FOIA, the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act.
Mm-hmm.
So we can request that footage. It's been about 26 years, I think, or something like that. So that request has already been filed, and I am waiting to see if we can actually get to see footage of the Phoenix Lights.
And you're the one.
Wow.
You're the one filing that, and
Yes.
that becomes available to other people.
Yes.
At that point, right? I mean,
Yes.
I think that needs to be
That's
pointed out
incredible.
that you're
Yeah.
doing a service like that. People need to be grateful
Yeah.
for what you're doing there because you're
Absolutely.
literally the tip of the spear on getting to that.
Because once it comes out, and I put whatever my spin to it and tell that story, it's public domain, so you can use it,
Yeah.
and
Right.
anybody can use it. So like, this is something that has been hidden from us, and the reason why there's multiple reasons why, but one of the reasons why you think it's just a couple hours long is because you're seeing a lot of it on the news, and that story has just kind of been swept under the rug. But yeah, you're talking about arguably one of the biggest reported UFO sightings
Ever.
in history,
In history.
and it's hardly talked about.
I got questions, but I'm waiting. What do you guys got?
Oh, hold on. Back to the Dreamy Draw, because he asked about
Oh,
Mercury.
yeah.
So there is, have you guys heard of a story about the Dreamy Draw Dam covering up a UFO? No.
You had I know the Dreamy Draw Dam was in Origins, right? You had there was a scene where you were there.
Yes.
I don't remember it necessarily talking about that.
It was.
But was it? Okay.
It was.
Okay.
It was. You're right. So I've got so many of them that came out this year. I'm
Good
trying
call,
to remember. But
Yeah.
yes, it was. So that story is completely false. So you're going to see some people, talking about this cover up where this UFO is under this dam, and that is false. The real cover up is that portion of the 51.
Where it curves.
Yes, actually.
I drive the
You
51 to work every day.
It curves, it goes past Northern, it curves, and then you know how the mountain, the color, it changes, and you see that white 100%.
Yes.
Okay, so that's cinnabar. That is mercury, quicksilver in its rawest form, and that dam, that area, that mine, the Rico mine. Sam Hughes, it started like 1918 or something like that, but it was highly toxic, and it was so toxic they built the freeway to cover it up. So back to present day, and you see all these people that are going out there hiking in the middle of 120-degree weather with no water, right? There's and the most famous one is the old lady. I think she's a part of the reason why the Dreamy Draw got shut down. The one that was on the helicopter that was
Please
spinning.
tell me this.
Oh, she was the spinning one.
She was
You
the
remember-
spinning
did
lady.
you see that
Oh
video?
yeah,
I
when
didn't know
she
that
was like
Dreamy
spinning,
Draw.
spinning, they
Yes.
made memes about that.
So
Hey, she got a bag from that.
she did.
She came out all right. Honestly, I would be in that helicopter like, let's go.
Yeah, she came up.
Drew,
on
if
that
you
one.
don't see what it is, it's a video of a helicopter picking up this lady, and it just like it's spinning like
Oh,
crazy.
She gets
You gotta
caught in
see it,
in
dude.
the spin of the blade, and she's literally just.
Oh
crazy,
damn!
dude.
You know,
But
so before you finish, I'm sorry. Like,
Go ahead.
I love this because when I came out to visit Dom, around 20, when did I come and visit you?
2010
2010.
for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. I came out and visited him in 2010, and I fell in love with Phoenix. I fell in love with Arizona, just period.
It happens.
And
It
I'm
happens,
I'm
man.
in your soul.
I'm a big researcher in, Area 51 and all the different naval bases and the different bases and all the things that happen there. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do was like drive towards Area 51, obviously not like at the base, but just somewhere towards it. And I just didn't realize the amount of folklore, just the amount of like tales that come with Arizona. And so what you guys are talking about honestly just gets me excited. So like just the stuff that you guys are talking about, I'm like, holy shit, like this is super dope.
Yeah, man. A lot of people don't know that, Phoenix, Arizona was the military's playground before Area 51. And it was due to the invention of the portable air conditioner that really forced the military to say, we kind of made a mistake here, but we need to move to an area where people wouldn't, flood it and stuff like that. So they picked up and part of the reason why the 51 is named the 51.
Get it. I didn't even think about that.
Stop it.
Drew,
Stop
drop
it.
something
Stop
right
it.
now because
Stop
I
it.
did not even think about that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You just
51
fucked
North.
me up with that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, when
Because
you
the
look at it.
interstate highways have to be named in a certain convention, but you get to say what's named in your state.
Well, not only that, it literally started construction of the 51 started the same year Area 51 went online. So, there's no coincidence.
I was gonna say, I thought I was gonna
where the guy's smoking the cig
Yeah.
and he's like,
Ben Affleck.
better no, Mackay Pfeiffer, dude.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, I thought the U-2 plane inspired for Area 51 to build, like that was gonna be the central base to build high-tech planes, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, no, so the YouTube plane was a huge part of it. And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't understand that a majority of the UFO sightings that were seen in the past and in present are probably newer applications that we are testing, or even back then, especially like one being the U-2 spy plane. But a lot of the development when it comes to the air base and the strategic positioning of the air bases, they're in this specific mountain range like we talked earlier. So when you look at the air bases, especially surrounding in Phoenix, they're planted behind mountain bases. But you're right in a sense to where, once again, when they looked at Groom Lake and they looked at the isolated area and how far and how long it would take people to get there, that was their choice. And it was a good one because you got like 5 miles of just rugged terrain before you even get there. So there are people that, you know, have the idea, like that whole storm Area 51 thing.
Yeah.
That would have been a great idea, you know what I mean? But you're talking 5 miles easily to get there and then get back. So it wouldn't have gone well for anybody. You know, I know a few people went out there, took some pictures.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, absolutely. But it wouldn't have went well if they really wanted to storm. You know, the population today isn't in shape like that to
5 miles. You're making it 500 meters.
Yeah, you know what I mean? To try to storm Area 51, you're going to be tired by the time you get to the gates. It's over, man.
Right.
You know?
I think the first documentary that I remember watching that like really got me interested in Area 51 was they were talking about the airline Janet.
Okay.
Which stood for just another non-existing terminal that they would use for people that worked at Area 51 that were from all over the country. They would come in. They would basically come into, I don't remember what airport it was. They
had to be the Denver airport.
It's
all the conspiracies are.
It's in the middle of nowhere. It really is.
Well, it was like a regular terminal. Like you would go onto, you know, Delta, or you would go into Southwest. You would arrive on this airplane, or you would get on this airplane. You would fly, and then they would arrive at an airport or some sort of landing zone, you know, by Area 51, and they would get shuttled over to the actual base. And I thought that was like super interesting. Like, wow, they actually made a whole airline just literally dedicated to just shipping people that worked for Area 51.
Yeah, a lot of people that are on that Janet airline, and if, you know, for the listeners, it's it lands in Vegas. It is a white plane with a red strip, no aviation numbers, identifying numbers,
oh my God,
things like that. But yeah,
you're outside of the FAA flying. You're up there.
It's legit, yeah, because they're flying in, you know, high level engineers, people that are, especially with, you know, private aerospace. If you're actually in the area. So if you're up in there, Deer Valley Airport,
I live right by there.
So pay attention to some of those planes that are landing in, and every once in a while you'll catch a Janet plane. And when it happens, they're typically going to like the Honeywell building or
that
Honeywell's right there. On
the
19th.
one I actually worked literally. I used to park in their parking lot. Sometimes I wasn't supposed to. I worked at a company that was right near there, and I was like, wow. That big ass building doesn't have one window on it, dude. Not one single window on that.
Not one window.
Not anywhere. I think the front doors are even. I don't even know if the front doors are glass ones.
So it's like 3 or 4 stories, and there's a story that's underground. But I got a few friends that have worked there and still work there, and nobody knows what. It's a need-to-know facility. So what you do on that first floor, you don't know what's going on the second or the third floor and stuff like that.
You just connect a dot for me, because it's not Honeywell. People see Honeywell and they think like, yeah, my thermostat's Honeywell. What the hell does that have to do with aliens? But they actually I think that, I wanted to say it was that location, but it was previously Allied Signal. This is Honeywell Aerospace specifically, like specifically there.
Yep.
And so it's that big of a company that they're that good at technology that they will go make thermostats, but they're also doing aerospace engineering. It's like it's like one of those kinds of things. Yeah,
I did. Was during, so it's probably 2020, but I did a test video for somebody who was deep in the private aerospace industry, and it was involving Honeywell, and I'm dancing on because I was signed to
an NDA.
It says secrecy agreement, but pretty much was like I could talk about what I worked on, but I can't talk about, you know, when I looked and turned, and you know what I'm saying. So, but it was a test video to test black boxes and the what's the word I'm looking for? He did some adjustments.
Like the accuracy of them, because
so
how do you don't really know. There's no one there to validate that the data in the black box is necessarily 100% accurate. So
no, there is.
Right?
So the
black
boxes,
they have to test it to know
as far as like I think it was tilt, roll, and tilt, roll, and something else.
Or whatever.
Yeah, but there was like this, and then this, you know, and the machines. It's, you know, it's almost like you know, like having like a EKG or something, you know, where they're testing your heart or your brain or whatever, and it looks just like that. So these machines can tell if it's off by, you know, 0.3, 3.5, whatever. And he modified components because there was a gap in between the technology. So when these planes came out, so like for example, the planes that are flying around in the sky, you know the Southwest and all that, that technology is 40 years out of date easily, right?
So I was
that
flying Southwest just yesterday, and it was a lot of
That's all I
turbulence,
fly,
and I
dude.
was like,
Yeah.
seems like the same damn plane from 15 years ago.
exactly, it's that technology was old when we were teenagers. You know what I mean? So
737's been around for
forever.
That's what they fly.
So
yeah.
he was testing, or he fixed components that made the accuracy better, and he pretty much he saved some airlines out there. They're still able, because without him, we would have felt the effects of,
because that helps them. I mean, I would assume those sensors for the black box, which is something that's for a crash that survives, and you can get the data on that. But at the same time, I would imagine that work in sensors probably plays into all of the autopilot stuff that we have nowadays. I mean, people would be horrified how little of a flight their pilot is actually flying these days. It's about
good
it's
point.
about 2.5 minutes on takeoff and about 5-10 minutes on approach, and that's about it. Wow. The rest is almost entirely that. So that makes a lot of sense.
So that's great point right there. If the accuracy isn't there, you might be 15 degrees off in another smaller city.
That ends up going over the Atlantic. Yeah.
Yeah, facts.
Spain. I thought I was going to damn Iceland. What the fuck?
But yeah, man, I've when I talk about aerospace, and once again, I do it in a safe way. But when I talk about aerospace, I'm not just talking about it, something I seen on YouTube or anything like that. I have connection. I got one friend of mine who is waiting to retire. He was actually working at Honeywell, and he wanted to be in the first documentary.
In Origins?
No, ET or Man-Made. ET or Man-Made is the first one.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Origins is the second one. Golden Record is the third one. Borrowed Time is the fourth one. UFOs over Vegas is
I was
the
just
fifth
going off
one.
the name. I thought I had the first one.
Yeah,
in the series.
that's what I thought too. I was watching
Okay.
Man. I'm like, I think this is the first one he did, and like I said, the quality from the jump.
That's crazy, man.
Crazy,
Because that
bro.
was literally on the phone, and I was in 2015. I got into the BMX thing, and I was shooting this rider, and I thought something flew off the rider.
What year was that?
That was 2015. That was
Okay.
August. So it was that BMX track.
I know exactly where it is. It's across from the FBI building.
Once again, so
it's right down the street from.
When you look at that whole area, just look at all the businesses in that area,
yes.
and you're gonna
Dude,
start to see.
I'll tell you right now. So there's the FBI building,
Yep.
and then there's a rental equipment company.
Yep.
You're right.
Dude,
But you got the
And then it's
airport.
Deer
So
Valley
hold up.
Airport.
there is a
And then
dispensary
the
not
la-
too far from there too.
And the
though.
landfill, and I have heard rumors of all the tunnels from that FBI building out to the airport.
To
at
the
Deer Valley
airport.
Airport.
That
I also
the
is
heard
not
airport's
a-
right
that's
there?
not a rumor.
Yeah, okay. I
That's
figured
not-
that made sense.
No.
I was gonna say this too. Deer Valley Airport, I heard, is so people think about like busy airports and they think of like London Heathrow, Atlanta Hartsfield as being like the busiest airports in the world. Deer Valley Airport is actually one of the busiest airports. I know for a fact in the country. I think it's up there in the world rankings because
Whoa.
when you're expanding out to private flights.
Drew,
and
did you
stuff.
look it up?
Yeah, it
Deer Valley
I thought
Airport's
Drew
really
said that.
it's a
Dude,
big airport,
it's
bigger than
popping.
Scottsdale.
It's up,
just
it's up
because
there
of what
for
you
sure.
said, because it's take the time and look at the surrounding businesses.
Yeah.
And then you understand why. And then not only that, Deer Valley Airport was I wouldn't call it an airfield, but it was a place of high importance. With big officials came in to Deer Valley Airport.
Okay, so
Without a doubt.
when you talk about the airports, thank you for bringing that up. I want to bring something back a little bit ago. So we were talking about Area 51. You mentioned that the advent of the air conditioner. I know you talk about it in the show, but I want to make sure anyone listening catches up. I think I got this right. But you're saying the advent of the air conditioner, they're like, we made a mistake. We need to move. I don't know that we covered it here, but you were showing how many abandoned triangle airfields there are from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you did the math. You did it on Google Earth, and you showed it was it bigger than Rhode Island?
Yes.
So so again, that's when I talk about just 85. and he's saying like the freeway wasn't here, this wasn't here. There
Yeah.
Bell Road was a dirt road. If you've been to
Crazy.
Bell Road, that's a thought you
Poppin',
can't
dude.
even fathom.
Pop
It's-
it.
Yeah,
Auto
you'll see some
malls,
things.
every
You'll
kind of
see
mall,
you'll see some things
restaurants.
on Bell Road.
Yeah.
You could see,
Facts.
you could see $1 million home in a mass shooting in one ride.
Exactly.
But so that was just 85. We're talking 19, or we're talking, I think 14 or 40s. Okay, 40s.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so they had all that here, and they basically had this as and it was a hot to shoot too, right? So they could just whenever they wanted, they could go fire. And
Still
some of
is.
these, really, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And so Luke Air Force Range,
Yeah,
which is really Barry Goldwater Range, it is one, maybe only two, but it's where you can get live fire training. It's the whole state at that time was a training base.
you showed that
People-
they had manned and unmanned
Yes.
city. It was
Yes.
about them hitting airfields, right? They were
Yes.
practicing to hit airfields. But yeah, you can picture that they thought they were going to have this road state-sized playground to go
Yeah.
fly their jets and just
Yeah.
bomb and
Because at that time, Phoenix, the only people that came out here to visit Phoenix was to see Camelback Mountain. You go to Grand Canyon and you left.
Call it a day.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So when the portable air conditioner came out, people realized, yo, we can live here. And then, through the summer and,
Gotta
all
have
that
AC
stuff,
in the
gotta have
summers
AC.
here, dude.
shout out to anyone that was out here before that, man.
Ooh,
I always,
yeah, for
I always
real,
joke. I know
dude.
Arizona
Different
got
breed.
the first ones had to have come here in like spring and been like, guys, it's or like in the fall. And they're
Yeah.
like, guys,
This
it's
is
fucking
perfect.
snowing back home, dude. This is the shit. And then they build their log cabin and
June and July came around.
dude, July they're like the Salt River, a little salty.
And back then, the Salt River, a lot of people don't know this, but the Salt River, Camelback Mountain in specific, had a waterfall, looked like a tail, and that tail connected to
What?
the Salt River that flowed across. Yeah, if you just look at Google Maps and stuff
You're
like that,
right,
you can
dude.
see the water trail still. You'll see the trail of trees and stuff, and it connects down to where the old Salt River was. That portion of it is dammed off because of Tempe Town Lake. But yeah, I remember, like I said, I remember when the Salt River flowed through the city.
Like South Phoenix,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
right
That
through
was
there.
the dividing
Yeah.
line going
Yeah.
in from
In-
leaving downtown
to the
going to South
realize
Phoenix was, yeah, man. It was, dude, it was a different, Arizona and Phoenix is, it gets the, hey, this is a desert, but man, it was beautiful. There was water here. Still is water here, but it was different, dude. Different times, different, people.
Summer's
everything.
rough, but it's an oasis. It is,
It is.
in its own way, man.
Yeah,
In
I
its
was
own way.
here. I was here for that record breaking, but we were used to it. It's like, so that day it hit 123. We were playing basketball all day long, but it was different. When you're riding your bike 20 something miles in the summer, you're playing basketball, doing anything activities. It's just the way of life. Your body's used to it. But
Yeah, boys. Yeah, I want to make sure we have questions. I just got one question, and then we'll
Go
each
for it,
go.
that
You made a point in the ET or Man-Made documentary where you said that a lot of these sightings seem to happen at sunrise and sunset.
yes.
Why do you think that is? That
be-
intrigued me for some reason.
So the light scattering process.
Because we have some of the most beautiful sunrise and sunsets in Arizona. So I'm
I would
like,
say
what's
not even the.
I mean, yeah, it's up
Texas
there.
got nothing. Maybe a tropic somewhere got us.
London is the only other city that could
But really,
kind of compete to our sunrises and sunsets.
I
Yeah.
did not know that.
The blood red, the color changes, things like
Purples and the
yeah,
oranges.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
But it's that light scattering that allows these objects to become more visible because the color and patterns, and then the way the light is scattered, it not only shows craft that could be ours with cloaking technology is it's a bit too far, but just our advanced programs versus the UAPs, that light scattering process really exposes both of them, right?
Which, talking about the BMX, I think that's a great example of what you're talking
Yes.
about, because in that setting you captured, I mean, clear as day,
Yeah.
a saucer.
Yeah.
For those of you who've seen the documentary, I mean, did you, obviously when you were shooting the BMX riders, there's no way you expected to see.
So back to that, I was shooting him and I thought something flew off of him, and I was
That's crazy.
looking on the ground
Like a piece of
because
him,
I
right?
saw him in the viewfinder in the camp, and I 3 shots, and I saw it, but it looked like something fell off him. So I'm searching the ground, and I don't see anything. And then I go home and I see the pictures and I'm like, and I zoom in and like you said, clear as day, it's a black
Saucer.
triangle. It's a black triangle.
Yes.
And it has this, has some white box on the top. And I sent that into my boy Daryl Sims, and he had Seffi, who was that part is actually played by my friend Shauna Eckelhart. She was on Bering Seagull, but she was on season 12. Yeah, she's up in Alaska, dude. She's a tough.
You can't be on that show if you're not.
That's kind of chick, man. You're talking about underwater ice.
Gold mining.
Gold mining.
Man. If gold mining wasn't intense enough. Going into bear country, camping out there and digging and panning. Yeah, you're going to go into the Bering Sea. Okay. It's like it's bad enough to get crabs out of there from the water. You're going to go into the ground and get gold? Like, Jesus, dude.
Yeah, but that she played that part, and they ran, the real Amanda, she ran test on the photos, and, she was like, yo, you definitely, you caught something without a doubt. And that really caused me to research the area. And when I researched the area, that's when I realized that, that now this makes more sense, because this is private aerospace over here. And then we went back out there that night, and we found some stuff.
That's all my hood over there, dude.
So how long did it take you to amass some of this knowledge? I mean, I'm sure you're still gaining some of it, but like I'm sitting here thinking about it, and truly, if you're watching and wondering why I'm so amazed, watch the shows, watch the documentaries, because you are so comprehensive. I can't imagine that was. I feel like that would, if you dedicated nothing but a year of your life to just that, I'd feel like it wouldn't even be a drop in the bucket. I mean, you'd have to have been.
So that first documentary, let's talk about that one. ET or Man-Made was actually a YouTube idea, and I put those 2 chapters on YouTube, and I made about 13 grand off of YouTube, and YouTube didn't see a dime.
You made what?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm waiting for that, dude.
During the pandemic, March 13th, actually, the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights, and I actually got the idea from Corey Feldman. So when he released his documentary, nobody would pick it up, and it was called The Tale of Two Corys. So he got a website, and he sold it on a website. So I'm like, how can I sell my documentary? I need somebody to host the video for me. So I took YouTube, and the 3 functions or options when you post a video is public, unpublished, and then only you, right? Private. Mm-hmm. If you use unpublished, it doesn't show up on your video list, but I can share it to everybody. So I took that link, I embedded it into my website, created a landing page, a charge page, PayPal page, and everything. I charge people from my website to watch my documentary on YouTube.
Post it on YouTube.
On YouTube. So I did that. I made like $8 grand during the pandemic.
You're like ahead of the game with that shit. That's wow.
Wait, so I have a question before you go forward. Was that just strictly
from media manager asking you too, by the way, just so you need to know.
So is that strictly from just YouTube AdSense?
On his website. So you didn't get the link to the private video. So it was a private URL.
Right.
So it wasn't visible, but he could share it.
Right.
So he charged them for the URL on his website, and then they would get the URL, and he was hosting it on YouTube. That's crazy. So there was all them paying. How'd you drive traffic to their website? Because that's what Facebook, that's like the trade-off with YouTube is they're like, host here, you'll make a little money, but we'll do
Facebook, Craigslist. Yeah, I was putting posts on Craigslist.
Craigslist was hot for a bit.
Yeah, Craigslist was popping,
awesome.
So
that
it was just,
awesome.
Straight here. So I did that one in 2020, and then I did the second one. So the first documentary is really 2 YouTube documentaries that I combined it and made one. Actually, the distribution company told me to do that. So when I took the analytics for those 2 years and, went to the distribution company and they said, hey, look, make this a documentary. So to answer your question, the documentary side of it was just combining the 2, but the YouTube idea series that
For you to gain the knowledge to put it together, though, like that's, I mean,
Oh,
that's
well,
what I'm saying. I mean, like you have to live this. I mean,
Yeah,
that's you're so deep
So
in
we're
it.
talking
It's
about
not
we're talking
like,
about content creator, like
yeah, this
Yeah,
wasn't even like
mentality
a
at this
two,
point
this
now.
wasn't even like like some, because you know people get deep and do documentaries, but it's like I was embedded for 2 years and here's the film
Oh,
I made
yeah.
about it. Like
Yeah,
you can
live
tell
this.
from
You could tell you live
tell
this.
from the depth of knowledge on it that that's not the case. So I'm
Yeah,
saying, I mean, this is
it was like, photography taught me how to tell a story with photos. And one of the BMX dads, his name was Corey Howell. He was like, "Man, you should get into video, get into video." And BMX really got me into video. I used iMovie and, edited movies on iMovie for BMX riders, some Olympic riders and things like
and
that.
then you just married that with your
I
knowledge of
married
the
it.
thing. That's
I
perfect.
literally
Yeah.
had that. I got the idea in 2017. I want to do a documentary and on UFOs, and then I had that one, but I wasn't really sure. So with learning iMovie, and I mean we've all watched movies, right? So we know how it starts, the middle, and how it ends. So I've watched enough of them to be like, hey, I know how to do this. I can do this. And then
see, that's cool to me. But I think one of the things I want to give you credit for that when I watch a documentary, certainly there's plenty of good ones out there. I'm not saying they're all like this, but I think even some good ones, it gets to a point where you're like, I kind of know what you're trying to say, but can you just fucking say what the point of this documentary is? Like, can you just fucking give me something here? Because I've been watching for 45 minutes. You didn't, everything that you gave, yes, it builds up to something, but it's each individual piece of it was interesting.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I was
I'm
saying
sitting
earlier.
there, like I completely forgot that I was watching something about UFOs multiple times.
Yeah.
And then it would just gently, naturally come back in.
Yeah.
And not that the goal is to make something believable because it's not, but truly it just becomes very natural. I'm just like, well, how the hell do you argue with that? Because the way you sequence it up, but truly, like you're sitting there. And there's not like, you don't know where it's going.
He didn't dive deep enough where it lost you. You always kept it enough, and then you would transition. That what I was like, whoa! Like,
That's
it's like
a
this shit has
part of
me
the
like on
formula.
my edge of my seat right now.
You watch a
like,
documentary that's like, why sugar's killing us. And then
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
40,
yeah.
45 minutes in, they haven't said it gives you fucking diabetes if you have too
Exactly.
much of it. And you're like,
Exactly.
Jesus.
Like what the formula, one of the big pieces behind it is, I don't want to, there's enough people out there telling you what to think, especially with Roswell and Area 51. I don't want to tell you what to think. I just want you to think.
You just pushed
Think
it out
about
there.
this,
Yep.
and then when it comes to Arizona, there, like I said, there's enough people doing Roswell, Area 51. There's enough information in Arizona that I'm surprised. No, outside of Dr. Lynn, nobody talks about this stuff. There was 3 other crashes in 1947. One of them happened days before Roswell. I talk about it in Origins.
Was
that's
that-
why I was at
was-
your house.
Okay, was
William
that the
Rose.
one in Missouri? That was
No,
was
that's
that or that was the actress lady? Was that the actress lady you spoke to?
No.
She said she had seen, I think, one, right?
So
Or that
she-
she saw the blue explosion in the sky.
No, that was a
no?
completely different lady.
Okay.
The actress
okay.
lady, she was in the Charles movie with Elvis. She was, and I saw some of her pictures. She was gorgeous, dude. But she
was
worked
bad.
at Area 50, or she worked at Luke Air Force Base. But this dude that she was dating, but she did see the Phoenix Lights. But she was dating this guy who told her he worked for Project Blue Book.
You said that in
Okay,
E.T. or Man
okay,
Made. You
that's
talked
Yes.
about that.
So
Yeah.
Project Blue Book, a lot of people don't know Incident 40, which is the William Rhodes disc. There's video in the National Archives of a UFO being shot down over Luke Air Force Base. So they've told us throughout history, there just seems to be this block, especially with Marilyn Monroe. She saw something in that secret air base, and
You saw a lot of stuff.
it freaked her out. It freaked her out. And I think that's when they came up with the idea that the public cannot handle this, because Marilyn Monroe, who was in the inner circles and, they thought it messed her up. You know what I mean? So like this documentation, they put it out there, but they don't, like the CIA thing that I had you still got that pulled up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I
So
think
they-
I think that's what we should maybe.
This
All right, so just for a little context for everyone too, he when Clive came here, he mentioned that there might be some things he wanted to pull up. Right off the top of his head, he told me one Google search. He goes, just search for this. I didn't type in secret CIA document or anything like that. I just typed in the search query, and literally the first result was from CIA.gov/reading room.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'll let you take it from there, but just to know this is quite legit.
So this is a document that is on the CIA website, but it reads, according to the KGB materials, a quiet, low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and they merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 out of the 25 soldiers who watched the phenomena turned into stone poles.
It also says ...
Yeah. Right?
This is a CIA report, and the guy was like, I don't fucking know what to say, dude. Because I don't. The fuck do I don't. They were stone poles, dog. I'm telling you. Stone. He's like, were they bought? No, they were poles, dude. I was straight up, dude.
Stone poles. ...
That's an impregnant ...
That is
Petrified.
he
Petrified,
made
dog.
Like,
That's
this is
petrified.
real. But
All right,
only
sorry.
only two soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source. Let me make sure I'm saying. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different than that of limestone. This is a CIA document.
It literally, people, it says CIA.gov.
This is on the CIA website.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
So they told us this for years, but it goes on to say that the CIA representative stated, if the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked.
Wow.
So if you're messing with them, they got something for you.
I mean, they made it all the way out here.
Right.
They got something for you. So
Right.
like
Powerful.
my best advice, if you see something, for
Leave it
God's
alone.
sakes, don't shoot at it.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. Photograph it. Take pictures
Right.
of it. Post it on the internet, for God's sake. Contact me and show me the video.
Right.
Don't shoot at it. This is something you don't. If you shoot at somebody that has a gun, they're going to shoot back at you and defend themselves. These things literally turn them into stone poles, limestone.
And this is coming from Russians.
Yeah.
They're not out there.
KGB.
KGB's Russian.
They're not out there smoking dope and making shit up. They might be a little drunk from time to time, but they're. I would say in this particular area, in the Soviet era, I would say there was an
Yes.
air of seriousness
When
involved, and I
when
can't
they-
imagine how much guts
Good
it would
point.
take to even report this.
Good
Well,
point.
so they took. So from what I understand, the CIA came across about a 250-page dossier that I believe they stole or came across it somehow, but that was in there. That was in there. And for them to take that and put it on their website, and this is just one of millions of documents that are on the CIA, the FBI website. We're talking about astral projection, how to do it. All this stuff is on their websites, and people just don't. They don't research it. They don't know. They're still asking the questions. Are aliens real? Bro, just go look on the CIA website.
Right.
Go look on the FBI website. Go check the FOIA. Just check it. Just take the time to research it, and you'll find those answers.
Right.
You definitely found him.
Boys, Drew, Jared, what do you guys got?
Man,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we could talk for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours about this. I think we definitely need a part 2.
I'm with it.
We definitely need to
I'm
make
with
that
it.
happen. But just want to
with it.
thank you for your time, man. We just want to commend you on what you're doing. Like even just like down to the
appreciate you.
Freedom of Information Act stuff. Like that's real stuff. That makes an impact. Making a documentary is incredible. But even just going to as far as to do that stuff, just want to commend you on it. Praise the work product because it's absolutely incredible.
appreciate
So
you. Thank you
please
so
keep
much.
going and can't wait for part 6.
Yeah, 6 is coming out. I think it's December 5th. I know it's December. 7 is coming out. That's UFOs over Arizona. So we're going to talk about the top 5 UFOs that have happened in Arizona history. 8 and 9 I'm working on right now, which is actually talking about this stuff that we got on the monitor here. So it's JFK, Marilyn Monroe. I got the CIA document that was pretty much a death warrant for her. They
That's
tapped
a
her
smash
cell
hit.
phone.
That's
Yeah.
gonna. I mean, they're all good, but that sounds like the
That
one.
sounds like the
That's
one.
a
That's
net.
it.
That has Netflix written all over it.
I'm
Get to
not
pitching.
even honestly. If I like Netflix, and if they want to put me on Netflix, that's fine. But I'm loving the success I'm seeing on Tubi.
That's awesome, man. That's
Tubi,
great. Do it.
not only does
Shout
Tubi
out to Tubi.
they give us that opportunity, but they say, hey, look, you're recommend, and I've been recommended number 1 over like The Mummy Returns and Tom and Jerry, which is like tripped me out. But-
That's great, dude. Tom and
Yeah,
Jerry.
right.
Yeah,
My sons love
I
that.
saw
Brendan
that,
Fraser,
and I
move
took
aside,
pictures. I
dude.
was like, that's like I grew up watching Tom and Jerry, and like Mummy was like one of my biggest
Yeah,
movies.
Mummy was great.
As a teenager, and to see in present day as an independent filmmaker that my film is recommended on a major streaming platform.
With hundreds of reviews, which translates to thousands and thousands of views because I've watched countless hours of stuff and not reviewed one damn thing.
Yeah.
So for there to be that many, they have to have watched it and feel strongly about it.
Yeah,
and for that many
right.
says a lot.
They get that emotion. That's what I love. And like, when it, part of the formula is when people reach out, I'm going to it's me behind that message that you're getting. So if you got a video or something you want me to look at or anything, send it to me and I will analyze it. If it's real, I'll let you know that. If it's legit, I might even put you in my documentary. So it's like, that's something that I really value, especially with the reviews, the bad ones, because it gives me an opportunity to not only get better, but that person watched it, they spent their money, and then they got online and they might have been upset or whatever, but
They still paid for it.
they
though.
still paid
There
for
were plenty of happy ones too. There were plenty of happy people. Plenty of happy people.
Me personally, I'm a fan of the negative reviews because, like I said, that shows me not only where I can get better, but those fans are like really the ones that they're gonna. I didn't like this at first, but then this happened and I saw this, and one lady in particular, she was mad that I called Ephesus the Church of Ephesus. I used the word church.
Oh, wow.
And it was really the temple of Diana. And so it I was there. Like you seen the video. I was mingling with the people there, and I'm being respectful to them. But seeing her comment allowed me to say, you're right to a sense, because somebody that is an archaeologist or a history major, to give it the correct names and terms and stuff. But not a lot of people know what the temple of Diana is and so on and so forth. So you got to call it a church and ease it into there. But I'm a fan of those negative reviews, man, because like I said, it allows me to grow and become a better filmmaker.
The conversion rate's much higher.
What'd you say?
I said the conversion rate is much higher.
Oh.
I love this too because we're talking about aliens and we always like to get a little motivational, and look what we just ended on, man. That's perfect.
I'm in with some good. Drew, what you got for him?
Man, honestly, this deserves a part 2 and a part 3 because there's just so much I feel like we could definitely dive into. And I love the fact, and actually I had an observation that I wanted to talk about earlier, but I feel like it's kind of pretty much addressed itself throughout this whole interview. Is it seems like when you talked about your early years about moving from Philadelphia to Arizona, and you loving the surroundings of what it was like being there in 1985, it seems like those photographic memories that you had really, and then also your dad sending you tapes of Philly games, sending them to you through VHS. It seems like those became very pivotal moments that led to be benchmarks to you becoming a filmmaker. You wanting to, like you said, you had said earlier too, when you wanted to become an archaeologist, you wanted to give back the history that you discover over time. It seems like you're doing all of those things now based on the connection between how you live to the thing that you wanted to become, and now it's become one as being a documentary filmmaker.
Yeah, man, and I appreciate that, and especially with the topic of UFOs and aliens, the history Arizona has. Like I said, the Lost Dutchman, the seven cities of gold. A lot of people don't even know that, you know, 3 out of those 7 cities were here. One of them was Casa Grande. You know, the Wells Fargo stagecoach. So the Wells Fargo bank, that stagecoach that's on their bank, that stagecoach has been lost, and it's probably valued at $1 billion in gold right now. But you know, there's
Wow.
you know, Billy the Kid's lost cash. There's so many. The Peralta Stone maps. I mean, the list, the Vulture Mine. There's so much history in here in Arizona that I learned from those trailblazers coming up, and you know, I'm expanding the horizons of just, you know, the aliens and the UFOs and stuff like that. I want to get, and I kind of touch into that, like on chapter 5, you saw it. So I talk about the sacred Black Mountains, Black Hill Mountains and things like that. And
Origins, you were talking about just Arizona history in general.
Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah.
it's like you have a future in that alone.
Absolutely.
so it's funny you bring that up, because this newest one, 8 and 9, with JFK and Marilyn Monroe, it actually starts. It's like a parallel, because in reality the Cold War ended when World War II, or Cold War started when World War II ended.
Mm-hmm.
So Origins ends with World War II, but then the Golden Record picks up in the 90s. So like this one I'm doing now is in between Origins and the Golden Record, and it's like a double. It is a double DVD release in part 1 and 2, and it's insane. I put that document that I just showed you guys in that one. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, you know, UFOs that were reported in the Soviet Union by CIA officials, senators. The senator Richard Russell, who was on the Warren Commission, you know, when JFK was assassinated, he saw him and Air Force colonel and a CIA agent saw a UFO on a train in the Soviet Union in 1955. So like, and all of this it's all documented. It's been documented for years. So yeah, we got a lot to come, man. We got a lot to come when it comes to this filmmaking and documentaries and things like that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I love
Truth
how
is out there.
I love how all the series have a lineage. They all kind of connect in some way, shape, or form. Because even in the documentary that I watched, had some photos from the BMX couple of days that you did in August 2015 was in the same documentary that Dom watched.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Chapter 5. Yeah.
It's to me, it almost feels like it does feel like a Marvel. It feels like a Marvel universe where every documentary does have a lineage where they all connect in some way, shape, or form. You're leaving remnants of one, putting it into the next, putting into the next, and that's all leading up to the next.
Dude, it's funny you say that, because that's literally the approach. You know, I didn't want to say, hey, this is one film and that's it. There's an entire universe. You know, if I showed you guys my massive whiteboards in the house, you'd be like, oh, okay, I see.
Beautiful mind.
Exactly. I mean, it looks like code up there that people really can't understand. You get up on it because the handwriting's so small, but in reality, it's a timeline. It's a universe of events that have taken place, and I'm just trying to put it in that timeline and make sense of it all.
That's the interactive website that you could eventually build.
Oh man, that's awesome.
We're glad you're putting it together, man. I can't wait to see the next part.
Yeah,
I'm really excited.
Yeah, you got ET or Man Made, you have Origins and the Golden Record. They're all on Tubi right now. You can watch them for free. Borrowed Time, and Borrowed Time is on Vudu. UFOs Over Vegas is on Apple TV. You watched it on Apple TV?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that one's on Apple TV. Maybe we'll be on Prime with Chapter 6. I'm not really sure, because Chapter 4 kind of got me into a little bit of a pickle. I was talking. Well, I did it, and then what happened was the Mexico alien bodies came out.
Oh yeah.
So there was like, if you notice, nobody's talking about that anymore.
Correct.
So there was like this memo, you know,
Stuff.
yeah, because I talk about Borrowed Time. I talk about, you know, the Mayans and the possible visitations that they had during their time, and they was just like, nah, not happening.
Wow.
not this story that it had to die down. And yeah, it just So we'll see where the lost race comes.
You say that, I want to see you linked up with Graham Norton on Ancient Apocalypse. Man,
Okay.
You two would be a deadly combo.
Ancient Apocalypse. That's the show that's on Netflix, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. That is my boy was telling me to watch that. I watched like the couple episodes of it, but that's something that it's funny you're bringing that up. I'm gonna have to go home and watch that now because he has talked about it. He's like, yo, some of the stuff that you say and he says, it's like you guys should do something together, So I'm gonna have to check that out, man.
Man, well, listen, Clive, you are, I would consider the definition of within range. You're here to bring ideas, inspiration, and creativity within everybody. This is why we had you on. I almost see a theme, boys, or maybe we have Clive end each season from now on. Maybe we just do an alien.
That's a move right there.
Right? Is that not?
That's a move right there.
Let me know, and like I say, you just give me, a topic to bring to you, whether it's the Phoenix Lights, whether the Kingman UFO, Travis Walton, we'll try to get him in here, or even on the phone.
And we might have to get early screenings throughout the year, so that way I can have all my questions.
Dude, Travis, you can, when you get the opportunity, if you've ever met him, he's one of the few men that like you can look and see the truth in his eyes, man. And it's just like, then not only that, like he's been saying this same story since 75, dude. And here we are in 2023, but in 2021, they pretty much confirmed, this is real, you know? And so, but yeah, you guys let me know, man. I'll bring topics. I got a video I'm gonna show you guys when we end. That'll trip you out. You probably want to talk about that on the next one, but I got evidence, documents, people, whatever you want to talk about. We can talk, as long as it doesn't get us in trouble.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Man.
We'll definitely talk about it.
Well, guys, listen, this is officially the end of season 2 of the Within Range podcast. Clive, we thank you for coming on. Thank you for blessing us. We're going to be tapped in. We're going to be in contact.
Man, thank you for having me.
We appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you.
Hit us,
Thank
Drew.
you.